Guys, I'm insanely grateful. Okay, the stuff that I'm going through that I'm quote unquote saying is hard is not hard. Okay, I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to be able to go and try to solve these problems. I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to have a great team and a great business that's very profitable and an amazing family that's healthy. And I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to be able to tackle problems that are not problems of my business going out of business, but are problems of how do we leverage our time and our money and our resources and our people better to grow more. I'm insanely lucky and I'm insanely grateful. But I can tell you, by pushing through on those hard things, that's where momentum happens. That's where true happiness is going to be happening. That's where you're going to be growing that mental toughness. You're going to be growing that muscle that's going to help you push through the stuff. Don't stop, because momentum is what you're going for. What's up, y'all? Heading home right now after a full work week at Carrot HQ. And man, I'm feeling really pumped right now. I recorded a podcast earlier this week, and if you guys are listening to it, I think it'd probably be the last episode of the Trevor Truck Talks, where I was really talking about kind of what I'm going through right now as a CEO. You know, a hard period because I'm having to grow a lot, probably more than ever, and we're cracking through kind of a next level in the business, which requires me honestly to have more discipline. I've taught before at Carrot Camps and I've taught a couple other times something I call discipline ceilings. I'll see if I can't find something to link up or a picture. Maybe we'll do a blog post on it or something like that. But essentially discipline ceilings are throughout life, you hit these spots where things are going amazing for you, right? They're going great. It feels like you're getting positive momentum. You're learning, you're doing stuff, things are working. And then without really recognizing when, or sometimes even why, things start to slow. At first, you don't really realize it. You don't really catch it. You don't really notice it. And then all of a sudden, you kind of wake up one day and you're like, it just kind of feels a little bit off. Just feels like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it right now. And then that maybe lasts 2 days. Then you get it back for a day. Then it goes back, and you're not feeling it again for another week, or you're kind of out of your flow and you can't get the creativity back, and your energy starts to go down, and you kind of like go, you question yourself on kind of why you're doing that work, why you started the business. And then you go, no, it's me being silly. And then that might go on for weeks or months sometimes, and hopefully not months, but oftentimes weeks. And you just feel like you're in this funk. In hindsight, it ends up kind of manifesting as I'm in a funk. And being in a funk is not good. I've talked about being in a funk and how to get out of funks before in the podcast and on my Instagram. And even when you know how to get out of it, sometimes it's tricky because you've got to know when you're in one, and then you've got to have a process to get out of one in the first place. And I've talked about that as well on other episodes. Go back and look in the archives. But so this week, what I did, and what I want to talk about in this episode on my way home here, is sometimes you've got to dig down and do the dirty work to get momentum. And when you're in a funk like that, whether it's a day or 2 days, I was in a pretty big 2-day funk, kind of minor funk for maybe a few weeks, just very minor. You've got to really dig down and do the work to get momentum. Your number one thought and your number one motivation to get out of the funk should be to get momentum on something that's important to you. The number one way you're going to get out of a funk, y'all, is to get momentum on something that's important to you. So the funk that I was in earlier this week, like I talked about in my last episode, was just a lot of tasks piling on me. I had to let go a good friend and a person in the team. We are kicking into planning, and there's some things that we're not very organized because some of our old planning processes had broken with the size of our team now, 40 people. Honestly, I wasn't working out crazy consistently as much as I had been and had wanted to. And so on Tuesday I came home and I'm like, you know what? Screw this funk, okay? I can't show up to work tomorrow without having positive momentum happening. How tonight, how do I get positive momentum to get rid of this funk and start to head in the right direction? Because I knew if I was going to go to bed that night at the same time I normally would have. And if I was going to go to bed at the same time with a bunch of these things not done and not feeling positive momentum and knowing I'm going to get into my day tomorrow, and I've got stuff I got to get done, but I'm going to get, pulling it in and distracted by a couple things. There's just no way I'm going to get done these really important things. I said, I've got to take action, take massive action right now and do what others likely would not do to get out of the funk and get into positive momentum. So what I did is I pulled up my computer, and you guys have probably heard where in 2016, I went cold turkey and decided not to work any nights or weekends at all because I fell asleep one time driving the family out of town after just a really consistent phase for probably a year or more of pulling really late nights, getting articles on my website and things like that. That's how we grew our business, was me getting that crap done, right? I didn't really learn how to delegate at that point very well. And so I went cold turkey, didn't work nights or weekends for years, for almost 3 years. And so then a year and a half ago, I started picking up a little bit more. Like I might not work nights, but I might, pick up the computer for an hour in the morning before the kids wake up and stuff like that. But really wasn't working weekends and still nights, just hardly ever. And so last night I pulled up the computer and I said, all right, I'm going to get momentum on this, even if it takes me all night. If it requires me to stay up all night and not get any sleep, I'm going to jam on this. I'm going to create the processes that we're revamping the marketing team with. I'm going to create the entire training stack, or not the training stack, the entire planning and communication stack that we're going to now put across the whole rest of the company that I've been, thinking of in my brain for months, but I haven't had the time to make. And it's going to walk through exactly how to do quarterly planning, the exact marketing plan template that we use now as a company that I created Tuesday night this week that didn't exist before that. I got a week's worth of work done in one night. And so I thought it was probably going to be like a midnight thing. Then I thought it was maybe going to be 2. And I'm like, I'm just going to jam until I'm done. Because I want to show up tomorrow to that marketing meeting, because I'm stepping back in to lead the marketing team until I find a new leader. If you know, or if you are the best marketer that you know, if you have experience in marketing software companies, if you have experience in SaaS metrics and scaling inbound marketing campaigns, let me know. Go to carrot.com/careers, because we are looking for someone amazing there. But anyway, y'all, I stayed up until 5 in the morning, okay? I stayed up until 4:58 a.m. I went to bed, woke up at 6:20 a.m. And you know what? I had a ton of energy, y'all, okay? Because here's why. I'm going to tell you something. Is you can go into situations like that with 2 different mindsets. I was watching Jesse Itzler, who wrote a book called Living with the Monks, and just an amazing, amazing guy. You guys need to follow Jesse Itzler on Instagram right after you follow me on Instagram, Trevor Mock. But Jesse Itzler is ITZLER. His wife, Sarah Blakely, owns Spanx. He and his wife own part of the Atlanta Hawks basketball team. He started he started Zico Coconut Water. He started Marquis Jets, sold both those companies. So he does very well. But he's got a different level of mindset. And he literally had decided about 3 or 4 nights ago to do an Ironman. He's like, literally, hey, me and my buddies, we talked, and we're going to do an Ironman in 2 days. And he said, I haven't ran more than 7 miles this year since COVID. He's never ridden his bike longer than 50 miles at once. And he's never swam more than a mile at a time. And an Ironman is 2.4 miles swim, 110 some odd miles a bike ride, and a marathon all in a day. And so him and his buddies, with no preparation, rolled out and did the darn Ironman. And his assistant asked him when he was knee deep, and it was like 1 a.m. They hadn't finished yet. He was still, maybe a mile 18 of his marathon at the end of it. And his assistant said, Jesse, how do you get through this stuff? Like, it's obviously extremely hard. You're struggling right now, but how do you get through it? And he smiles and he goes, it's easy. He goes, all I had to do was, like, I don't think about the pain that I'm in right now. I don't think about what's going on right now. I just thought about when I started, I just know in 13 hours, I'm going to be back in my bed. And I just have to be able to keep moving for 13 hours, and I'll take breaks or I'll walk, but I'll be back in my bed in 13 hours. And that's such an amazing mindset, because when you approach it with that mindset versus all the pain you're feeling, or when you approach it with that mindset of, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can make it another step, or I don't know if I can do this. If you're doing that, you are going to quit. It's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard time making it through. Versus if you shift and say, you know what? Like I did that night, I said, I'm going to not go to bed. I'm just going to maybe get an hour of sleep, and I'm going to have full energy tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to have full energy. So I gave myself permission ahead of time to say, yes, I am doing this. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to have full energy tomorrow. I'm going to wake up tomorrow with energy. I'm going to be pumped, and I'm not going to have a lack of energy at all this week. And what I would do sometimes is I'd pull that late night because I felt obligated to get this project done. And then I would be out of energy that next day. I would start to feel even sick 2 days later, and I'd feel like I'm trying to catch up on sleep for 2, 3, 4 nights in a row. And it was because I was going into it going, oh man, I got to get this thing done. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. The whole thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was tired because I told myself I was going to be tired. The team was asking me this week, they're like, because they knew I stayed up until 5 a.m. that day, getting all the marketing planning, the planning stack. I didn't do the marketing planning, but I did the planning stack so our marketing team could do it. And created the process, created the system, created the training, did the research, did all that stuff in preparation so I could show up as an amazing marketing leader for my team and lead them well and create process that's going to live on without me, and create leaders and coach those guys to where they could take this process and have it live on without me, since I can't do 40 hours a week leading the marketing team this quarter. I'm probably like a 10-hour a week marketing leader. And I said, how do I get 40-hour a week marketing leader results out of 10 hours a week? Well, I've got to show up more organized. I've got to show up with a better system. I've got to coach the team members better than ever. I've got to run really good meetings so they're exciting, but we're working on the right stuff. And I have to do all that in under 10 hours a week. And I'm pumped about it right now. Okay. And so my team felt it. And Brady, when I was heading out, he's like, man, I honestly thought you were going to crash. I thought you were going to crash midweek, or thought you were going to crash on Wednesday. I'm like, dude, I'm not crashing. I'm full of energy because I'm excited because of this, because I'm in momentum right now. When you're in momentum, you're happy. When you're in momentum, you feel great. When you're in momentum, you get energy, no matter how much you slept or didn't sleep. Okay. When Jesse Itzler was in mile 18 of that, he had the mental energy to push through because he knew he was in momentum, not momentum as far as running. He was in momentum with his personal growth. He knew that he was getting so much personal growth in that moment. He was getting so much tougher as an individual. He was getting so much tougher mentally in that moment that he was in momentum. And even though it was painful, and even though I'm sure he wanted to quit at certain times, he was in momentum and he was having joy in that moment. And that's a micro version of what I'm going through right now. I didn't do an Ironman in a day with 2 days notice. Okay. And I'm not going to say that what I did was even anywhere near that. It's nowhere near that, but I'm in momentum right now. And I'm enjoying some of the quote unquote pain or the hard things that I'm going through, relatively hard, right? Like guys, I'm insanely grateful. Okay. The stuff that I'm going through that I'm quote unquote saying is hard is not hard. Okay. I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to be able to go and try to solve these problems. I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to have a great team and a great business that's very profitable and an amazing family that's healthy. And I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to be able to tackle problems that are not problems of my business going out of business, but are problems of how do we leverage our time and our money and our resources and our people better to grow more. I'm insanely lucky and I'm insanely grateful. So don't take this as a pity party for me that I'm going through quote unquote hard times. I'm not, guys. Many of you listening to this right now are going through way harder things than I am. Okay. It could be things health-wise. It could be things with your family or your relationship, or maybe your business actually is really struggling and you're debating whether you should continue doing it or not. That's hard. Okay. But I can tell you by pushing through on those hard things, that's where momentum happens. That's where true happiness is going to be happening. That's where you're going to be getting, you're going to be growing that mental toughness. You're going to be growing that muscle that's going to help you push through the stuff. Don't stop, because momentum is what you're going for. I can tell you guys, when you get the money, you get all those types of things. I've been in this spot, and I know lots of people that you get comfortable and you're in negative momentum or you're stagnant. And then all of a sudden what happens is you're not happy. And so momentum is the biggest thing. I don't care how much money you have in the bank account, right? So find out whatever you have to do, anything you have to do at all to get into positive momentum. If you've got to pull an all-nighter to get that big project done, to get momentum on the thing, to create the plan or to set up that Google Ads campaign or to put up the job posting or whatever it is, don't complain you don't have enough time. Okay, don't complain you don't have enough time. It's not usually time. Okay, it's not usually time at all. It's usually the focus. It's usually the energy. It's usually the drive. How bad do you want to solve that thing? How bad do you want what you think you want? Are you willing to stay up all night for 1, 2, 3 nights? I'm fully committed, honestly, to pull another all-nighter probably next week or the week after. And I'm actually pumped about it because I'm like, I got so much momentum in that one night. and my team saw it, and it raised the standard for them as they were watching this. And I'm starting to live that standard better. I got so much momentum that night. I'm like, all right, let me get a bunch of sleep. Let me really dial this in. How can I have another one of those nights next week to get through a big old huge thing that I need to get through? And then maybe how do I have another night in maybe 3 or 4 weeks? And then I'm essentially made movement of a quarter's worth of momentum in a matter of a couple few nights. All right, guys. So take this, run with it, do something tonight, this week, this weekend that is going to get you that momentum. Get in momentum. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It can be almost immediate, but it does take sacrifice. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of the week. If you guys are getting a lot out of the podcast, out of the Carrot Cast, go give a rating and review in Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called now, because that's exactly how we spread the message here. The more rates, the more reviews that we have in there, the higher the podcast goes. I want to see if we can't get 25 ratings in there. And we've cracked into the top 200 business podcasts on Apple Podcasts a couple times. And it's always after we get a bunch of people going in there and giving ratings and reviews. So what I want to ask of you guys is this: if I can get 25 people to go in there, if you've gotten any value from Carrot as a community, or from any value from the podcast, take 5 minutes out of your time, please, right now before you forget about it, and head over there to Apple Podcasts, give a rating and review, 5 stars if you can, but be honest with it. And guys, tell me how this is impacting your life. Tell me how this is impacting your business. Tell me what you're getting out of this podcast. And I'm going to read every single one of those. And we're going to wrap more people into this message for people. How do you build businesses that help you add humanity to the world? How do you build businesses that help you regain time for things that matter in your life? How do you build businesses that truly impact the world? You can do that, and we're going to help you guys do that. All right, have an amazing rest of the week. We'll talk soon.